Hello, what's going on, everybody? It's Josh.
And Josh.
It's Lane.
And Alan.
And you guys already know, telling by the title of the video, we are here to talk about Christoper Nolan's The Odyssey. And man, this is going to be a really interesting video today because it was a really interesting film, and I'm really excited to get it going on today. But real quick, before we even get started, you guys already know this video is sponsored by Josh and Josh. I know you hear the music in the background. If you guys want to check out our full music discography, you can go check it out at JoshandJosh.bandcamp.com. That will be in the description below. Also, if you follow our Instagram, JoshandJoshMusic, the description, the link is in there as well. But yeah, like we said, we're talking about The Odyssey today, and it was, to be honest, a crazy experience. We saw it at IMAX, and the IMAX place we went to, they just currently renovated it, and they had the new speakers, and it was a good time. It was definitely the loudest film I've ever seen in my life in theaters, but we'll get into that. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people thought the same thing because it was, the actual movie was just loud, like very loud in some scenes, but we're gonna get into that. But yeah, how are you? What'd you think of the film?
I liked it. I thought it was really, really good. Like he said, the IMAX, the new IMAX speaker in Mesquite. Because the thing is, there's only like a limited amount of IMAX, so not everybody has it. So, sure. And they even said people who didn't have IMAX actually didn't get to see the full film because it was cropped. Mm-hmm. So sorry to y'all, but we saw the full thing, so we're gonna give you the full.
And it's all its glory, okay?
Yes.
But I think, all right. So to really start off, obviously, if you have read the Odyssey, you know the Odyssey is the sequel to the Iliad, which is the Trojan War. You know, with the Greeks and the Romans and all that good stuff, and that's kind of a big thing. Oh, here's Podrick too in the shot. Yep, he said, "Please lift me up. I need to see people." But anyways, so yes, as you know, the Trojan War takes place before the Odyssey. The Odyssey is his Odysseys' trip back to Ithaca after the Trojan War. And what we'll kind of talk about this as the whole review goes on, but the Trojan War part of the film that they showed and where the film kind of opens up is a very important part of Christoper Nolan's Odyssey, because it's the whole scene of them building the horse, sending it a statue as a gift, and that's how they get through the wall because they weren't expecting it. And, it's a whole plan, beautifully executed. But what was beautiful about this film, that it kept coming back, like the way the story was told. We saw more and more. It developed and it made more sense, but that's really where the story takes off. And from the very beginning is they not knowing, but they're literally in this horse, and people that had the where were they,
on the beach?
Oh, it's in Troy. Yeah, in beach. All of the guardsmen, they ended up like pulling it in, all that good stuff. And it was just crazy. Like, it was so heavy, but the reason why it was so heavy is because there was a lot of people in that horse. But it was just really cool to see that on film, and that's where it really opened up. But that kind of segues into the next big set point of the film, and that's I'll know how to get home. After fighting the Trojan War, them winning, the movie really starts with them planning on how to get home, and that's where the second one comes up with the curse of pride. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trying to think if we want to say anything else about that. I feel like the sentence kind of said everything.
Yeah, because it just keeps coming back to the fall of Troy, but it just like when it opens up the movie, we just see like a few glimpses.
Yeah, we just see a glimpse of it. Yeah.
You know what it is, but you don't know the full context of what we're watching, But that like we said, it does segue into the curse of pride. And what's the curse of pride is them setting sail back home to Ithaca from, the shores of Troy. Because what people don't know is that they camped out and were there for almost 10 years before they actually took Troy. And then, being gone 10 years, that sets up a whole bunch of problems for people back home in Ithaca, especially Penelope and, I always say the son's name wrong. Telemachus? Yeah. Telemachus. I always say it wrong.
Tom Holland,
yes. But that basically settles into the third big point of the film, and that's his first encounter on Odysseus' voyage home.
Yes. So this scene was crazy. This one, the scene basically called like Terrace
Polyphemus.
Thank you, Polyphemus. I didn't want to murder it. Okay, but the crew is trapped inside a cave with the Cyclops, and Odysseus uses cunning escape to escape the underbellies of the sheep, but incurs Poseidon's wrath by blinding the monster on the way out. So basically, they got caught in, and the monster can't really see them that well. So he thought they were one of the sheep, so he closes the thing, gonna go to bed. He was like, "Hey, bedtime!"
Yeah.
He closed the cave, so they were stuck in there. So then they figured out how to get out the next day. They had to get out under the sheep. But then when they finally all got out, and I think a few men had to stay in there because they like died in there. And then Odysseus was like, that's what we had to do for the battle or whatever. And it was like, are you sure? Because we have tradition. But then the thing is, as they get away, Odysseus, Dumbo, he go ahead and shoot the monster in the eye. And when the monster yells, I don't know what he yells, but the IMAX theater was like screaming. And I watched a lot of people break it down. They're basically saying some things they left out was that cyclone was one of the they didn't mention the gods in this whole thing. They kind of just left that out. But he was like one of the god's son or whatever. And since Odysseus did that, that's why they had such a terrible route on the way home. Basically, that's kind of why they got cursed.
He was the son of Poseidon.
Yeah,
the god of the sea.
Yes,
which in their mind, in their mythological sense, had them cursed on their voyage home because
they kind of were,
messed with the Cyclops. And when the Cyclops was crying out, he was crying out to Poseidon, screaming, saying, "They got me, Father. Poseidon, help me." But obviously Poseidon's not gonna help him because Cyclops are like shunned, from the rest. But very, like you said, very interesting scene. But this one kind of shows us how kind of dumb Odysseus is, because
or prideful,
yeah, in a sense, because the original story, it's a little different than what happens in Christoper Nolan's, because in Christoper Nolan's, he shoots him with the bow and arrow in the eye, and then it's partially blind, so it's struggling. But the plan was still the same. They go under the sheep to get out, and it was still really well done. But like you said, really loud, very loud moment of the film, and that segues into their next big encounter. So they leave, they escape Polyphemus and get back in shore, but they don't have a lot of food, so they end up keep sailing, and they end up coming across this like island, and they're like, we have to see what's there. We ran out of rations, we need food. So they pull up to this island, and this is Circe, sorry. Yeah. The sorcery of Circe. It says the remaining crew encounters the enchantress Circe, who is played by Samantha Morton, who transforms the men into swine, which are pigs, before Odysseus manages to free them. So all the men go up first, and Odysseus is like, I'm gonna look around, see if I'm gonna fish, so we can get some food. So all the men go up to Circe, and she ends up feeding them. And as we come to see, she's a sorceress and changes them into pigs, which was a crazy ass sequence, if I'm being honest.
It was really crazy,
really interesting. But then when Odysseus, because he goes to hunt actually a fawn or like a deer, and then when he kills the fawn, turns into a human man. He's like, oh crap! So he runs up to Circe, and by that point, all the men have been turned into pigs. And what they really don't tell you is that in the original Odyssey, he's there for like a whole year before she changes them back. But it was a very interesting. Yeah, it was. I think there had to be some, VFX, but a lot of it was practical. Like she had actual like pig like sculptures, and was like really messing with it and stuff. And it was really interesting, but very creepy, very creepy.
Yeah, very creepy. I was just glad that Odysseus was about to eat the pig soup, which was his, I guess, one of his people they killed. But yeah, right before he didn't, and so he convinced him to turn him back, and that was a hot mess.
And I feel like the food was definitely like not cursed, but poisoned to a sense, because it helped her turn them in, because they couldn't stop eating once they started eating, and that was all she needed for them to get turned into. It was crazy, but Odysseus never ate it because he was like, "You got a lot of food.
Just wasn't.
What are you cooking for?" Yeah,
it just didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next one is the Cattle of the Sun. Now, this one was tea, y'all. So, after... This is one of the last islands that they were on before with the crew staffed together. I don't know about this out of order, but anyways. They were stranded and starving. The desperate crew violates a strict divine warning and slaughtered the sacred cattle of Apollo, sealing their tragic fate. So, I think this was after he done seen Hades.
Yes, because he went to Hades because Circe told him to go to Hades. She said, if you go to Hades, he'll tell you what you need to know. Yeah. So he goes to Hades, which was a whole... We want to talk about that first, actually, before we talk about the Cow and the Sun. Because, I mean...
Yeah, because... No, we should, because I don't think they...
Yeah,
it doesn't mention it here.
Out a little thing, but basically, him going to Hades, like, they gave him a prophecy about his way home, and they're like, it's going to be really hard for you to get home, but you will get home. And he's like, what do you mean? And he's like... You by yourself, like everybody else is gonna die, and he's like, I'm not gonna let that happen. Like they're my men, I can't let them die. And they're like, you don't have a say. And they literally give him bullet points of what's gonna happen, and it's up to him to prevent that happening, which he tries to do, but
that's to his best ability.
Yeah, to his best ability, but it's gonna happen no matter what, So he really can't control that. But that was a really interesting part of the film, was him going to Hades, because it was really well done. It was just like a black sand desert, and people were dead, and that's where he sees Agamemmon died, and that's where he realizes he never made it home. Well, he did make it home, but then he was betrayed by his wife because he offered up their daughter as a sacrifice to Athena and Poseidon to set sail, which is crazy. But and she killed him in return. She held that in for so long after he got back from the war and was like, I gotta take him out.
And Lupita did a great job.
She did great. She did the double role. Beautifully done.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was basically in between, so right after Circe, and then this sets up the cattle of the sun, like what we were talking about.
So one of the things they told him, they said, when you get to this island, you cannot eat these cows. These are Apollo's cows, and if you eat these cows, whoever does will die. So literally for days, Odysseys told him, he said, y'all can eat the berries, and they looked at him like, we need some meat. We men, what the? So they said, okay, we'll eat the berries. He said, promise me, you're going to be I don't think he told them they'll die, but he said you'll be misfortune or something like that. So, days went by. Odysseys only ate the berries, but they end up, one day while he was like taking a nap or he wasn't paying attention, they were all around the corner in like a hut, and they was eating on the cow. And so he was like, dang, y'all are going to die. So what happened is one day, the reason they're stuck on this island is because there's no wind. So, like, literally without wind, the boat can't go nowhere. Mm-hmm. So, literally one day there was finally wind after they ate that cow. So, it wasn't obvious that something bad was going to happen to them. But basically, they got on the boat, they sailed out, and then that night, it was a horrible, horrible storm, right?
Well, something does happen before that, but all of that does set up. That does seal
we'll
their
leave
fate.
it there.
But that leads into the next thing, is the death of basically the rest of the crew. But they all die in various points. Because the first one, right after they set sail, they finally get some headwind, but then they encounter like a cyclone, typhoon. That's like a big, whirlpool thing. And a lot of the men are like,
oh, yes.
They're like, we need to go around. But Odysseus says, no, they told me we need to swim through it or we're not going to make it. People will die. And they're like, we can't do that. We're going to die. It's going to swim us up. So he's like, fine, whatever. And they end up going off course. But them going off course leads them to come into counter with like another like 6-headed monster creature that just picks them all off one
by one. The cave.
And they make it, but significant casualties were lost. And people were like, you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, they got
why didn't you do anything? And he was like, I told you what was going to happen. We needed to swim through it, but you all made us go around, and that caused a lot of men to die. But then that sets up their false, hope for Odysseus, and they didn't want to start listening to him, or like, no, we don't know what he is doing. And then that's when the big storm happens, and the storm completely tears their ship apart.
It literally tore 75% was with the rest of the crew. Mm-hmm. That went away, and then Odysseus was there in the front, and his literally floated away. So Odysseus, because Odysseus was the only one who didn't eat the cow, it was like everybody who ate the cow, they all stayed on the one side of the boat that died, and he was on the only side that ended up floating to land. And he ended up floating to this next part, Calypso, and Odysseus washes up to the shore on how do you say that?
Ojiga.
Ojiga,
yeah.
Yeah, y'all comment down below how to pronounce that. Where the nymph Calypso,
played by Charlize Theron.
Yep. Yes, feeds him lotus flowers to make him forget his past, which was keeping him captive and forgetting for 7 agonizing years. So 7 of his years gone was literally spent with Calypso
on this island. Yeah.
So, but at least solid 3 to 4 of those years, he was completely damaged, in a coma. Mm-hmm. He was in a coma, just laying there. And when he finally did come to health, she was giving him a little bit of the lotus, but the lotus would make him forget. But he didn't really remember anything anyway. So,
and the lotus was suppressing his memories as well. But she knew once he stopped eating the lotus, he would come to remember what has happened. But since, the lotus clouds your judgment in your mind, so you don't fully understand 100%.
Yeah, and he would be eating a full one. He loved him.
And, well, everybody would. They're addicting. That's what they don't tell you. But I thought that part was really well done because Calypso wasn't bad. She's just like stranded there, and that's her fate. But, and this isn't the first person she's had, pull up and live there, alive. But she grown to love Odysseus because he didn't know fully what's going on. He just kind of, really cherished her for saving him and doesn't know why, but he likes eating the flowers, and then they could have been together. But I think she realized the day he asked, how did I get here? Or because he keeps picking up different parts of his ship and it's starting to come to him. And she's like, as soon as you told me that, that's why I knew I need to ask you questions because you know a lot more than you think. Because I made him really think until she gave him a little piece, which we'll talk about this in a second. Because the the whole B subplot of the Odyssey is Penelope and Telemachus, dealing with the struggles of the suitors in their home.
Yes.
And then she's pressured to pick a new husband, but she doesn't want to do that, but they're all really pushing her to do that. And then Tom Holland's like, oh, I need to find my dad. I know he's alive, but I can just feel it, but I don't know. So that's the whole subplot of the film. But Odysseus finally remembers who he is because he's holding on to this Athena little gold thing that Penelope gave him the first 15 minutes of the film, and we'll go into that a little bit more later. But that does segue into the B subplot of the film, and it's the crisis in Ithaca. So back home, Queen Penelope, played by Anne Hathaway, and her son Telemachus, played by Tom Holland, suffered through a decade of torment as aggressive suitors led by Antinous, who was Robert Patterson, and they overrun the palace, eating all their food, drinking all their wine, because they know Odysseus, they believe he's not coming back because it's been 20 years, since he's been fighting war, and everybody else came back, and basically just trying to push her to pick a different husband. But that does lead into, so the subplot finally gets to, so Telemachus goes to a part of Sparta where he learns the tales of Odysseus, but they're kind of giving him the same stories, and they're like, yeah, he's dead, we don't know where he is, he's been gone, we all came back, but their whole ship of people died, but we know Odysseus is with Calypso on that island. But at this point in the film, he leaves Calypso, right? And he's like, how do I know I'll get home? She says, you'll get home because Zeus is not going to let you die. Even though Poseidon is really upset with you, he's going to give you hell, but you're not going to die. And literally, he's on this raft struggling. And IMAX, and he was struggling on this in the ocean. It was crazy, but it looked beautiful and it was phenomenally done. But he does make it back to Ithaca and is kind of distraught of what he sees, all of them taking over his home. But we haven't really talked about it, but a big character of the film was this blind man that Odysseus has known from a young age, and he ends up mentoring Telemachus, who is Odysseus' son. He's a really important character, but we don't have to go too much into that. But that does segue into,
he's a good character,
the whole crisis of Ithaca. But now that Odysseus is back, he struggles with not really wanting to come back because he knows he's been gone for so long and doesn't know if there's a home to come back to. But once he comes back, he knows he has to do something. But at that point, Telemachus has he's coming back, and what kind of hypes up to the end of the film to set up the third act is Odysseus saving his son Telemachus from an ambush that Antinous sets up via all of his gang and posse. He tries to kill Telemachus so they can take the throne for themselves, and that's where he first meets Odysseus. He doesn't know it's his dad at first, but Telemachus comes to find out that it's his dad. But Odysseus comes through the day, saves the day like a badass, but he looks like a beggar. And at this point, this is where he plays the role of the beggar. He's no longer the king of Ithaca. He's the beggar. Doesn't deserve to be king anymore, all of that.
But that's not why he showed up like that. Yeah. In Hades, they told him a story of the one man who died. He was like, he told him, he said, do not expect people to actually give you, welcome you back in open arms. Mm-hmm. He said, first come back, act like you're not even you, be under in disguise so you can actually see what's going on, and then expose yourself.
Yeah.
Because the king, like we mentioned earlier, the former king, he came back, the wife killed him, and if he wasn't like so high about it, he would have known that she was mad. But you know, he died terribly. But yeah, so that's why he showed up as a beggar. And the suitors, something we didn't talk about earlier, was now Travis Scott was the was in the movie, but he did a good job. They gave him some regular braids, and he did a really good job. I was just shook to see Travis Scott because I didn't watch the trailer, but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize it was Travis Scott. I was just watching after 2000. Man, this actor looked just like Travis Scott. Ain't that something? And they were like, "That's Travis Scott." I was like, "That's hilarious." I never would have expected that. So, but the point is, the suitors really did make it such a horrible time. And something that doesn't get mentioned, one of the best scenes was Robert Patterson, like probably just like year 9 of being a mess there, talked to the queen, and he was like, you know, you need to give up on Odysseus. We see that every night you undo the little towel
quilt she's
the
making,
little quilt you're making, because once her rule was when she finished with that quilt, if Odysseus didn't make a home, she was just going to marry somebody else.
Marry somebody, yeah.
So he clocked that tease. I know you've been undoing it every night, pretend like you're back here doing some work. You ain't doing none. And then he really talked her into it, but her thing was that really using her intuition, she strongly felt that Odysseus was alive, even though she had no proof, and she just felt that she should wait for him. She just didn't know why, but she just felt that, even though it honestly looked like he was dead. Mm-hmm. These people were drinking all their wine. They weren't out of their good wine 2 years ago. But she held out.
And this look, he sets up the third act of the film, which is my personal favorite of the whole Odysseus story, you know, and the Odyssey, is the test that she wants her suitor to fulfill. And that test is to string the Odysseus' bow that he left behind. But the thing is, only Odysseus can string this bow. Like, people have tried, everyone tries, but it's just something about Odysseus' like strength and the way he does it.
His like agility,
he just knows how to do it, but nobody else can come close. And that's what I love about this test, because she knows, like, it's almost damn near impossible, but all these guys step up to try, and people just laugh and stuff. But then Odysseus is back there as well, you know, because he's a beggar, and you know, people keep trying, and then he finally stands up and he's like, "Can I try?" And then Robert Pattinson's character's like, "Get these beggars out of here, like, you know, you're not gonna be able to do it." And he's like, let him try. And then Penelope lets him try, but she kind of like gives up, because he first tries to do it and struggles, because like he's like playing the part, and then she like gives up and like walks around. But as soon as she like starts to walk, he just does it how he normally does, and it's like a certain sound like the bow makes when he plucks it, like, and she just like stops dead in her tracks, and because she knows, like,
she's like, my man.
She's like, she's not convinced fully, and this is like low-key the end of the film, because then he ends up taking out everybody in that throne room, and it's basically called the test of the bow, and then the throne room bloodbath. And he just starts going off, killing all these people, all these suitors that are in his house, and it's just really cool spectacle to see. While his son Telemachus helps, but the plan was, what was really well done is that they hid all the weapons, so the only weapon in there was the bow that Odysseus was using. And the fact that I didn't even talk about the test, because the test was, you're not only supposed to string the bow, but you're supposed to shoot an arrow through like 12 axes into a thing, and Odysseus does it like with ease. Yeah, it was so cool,
because that was a party favor he used to do back, you know, in the day. Mm-hmm. He was like, when he was going to impress people, yeah.
But then it just sets up, because I also liked it how they showed how much of a coward Antinous, Robert Pattinson's character, was when he was in that throne room screaming, "Get the shields, get the swords, get it!" And he's hiding behind the wall.
And like, he's hiding.
He's like scared for his life, but then Odysseus basically kills all of them, and that kind of leads into the last, you know, big thing of the film. You want to do that one? It's number 10. Well, kind of the second half.
Well, we kind of already said it, but the only thing that we didn't say, because, you know, he killed everybody, blah, blah, blah. But then how it ended, once he kills everybody, they're like, Odysseus is back. He passes out in front of Penelope. And, you know, we kind of think he's dead. And then they go to the next scene, and then they show them on a boat. And Odysseus chooses to self-exile himself, because at the end of the day, the reason he didn't want to come home is because the whole movie was basically they use Calypso as Calypso. That's something right?
Athena was the.
No, not Athena when he was with the flower.
Oh yeah,
Calypso. They use Calypso. I meant to say this earlier, but they use Calypso and his whole excursion of remembering what happened to him throughout the entire film. As basically as he was remembering, he was telling us the story, and so that's how they told the whole entire story of the thing. And I thought it was quite beautiful because we didn't know much of anything, and he didn't remember much of anything. So it was like a blur at first to like a vivid memory, and basically, the reason why he stayed away so long unconsciously and did not want to remember and kept eating all those flowers is because he had to settle with that he did a lot of wrong to get in this position. His crew died. He killed. He felt like the whole fall of Troy was the loss of civilization. Like they felt like that was a loss of culture, loss of language, loss of a lot of good forming. Basically people having structure society things, and then they just went ahead and just went straight savage. So it was kind of like setting things back, and he was like, I thought I was doing this for the good, but I low-key am the harm. Like he was the sea people. They were like, some people came from the sea and killed us. That was Odysseus, and it was like he didn't want to admit. So basically I say all that because he knew that he needed to not be the king. Like, that would not be fair for you basically to kill everybody, do everybody wrong, kill your crew, and then you get exalted. Like, that's crazy work. So he decided to
exile himself.
Yeah, exile himself. And Penelope was so happy because
that was her vision too. That's what she wanted.
A long time ago when the movie first started, they showed them in the room butt naked. She was laying on top of him. And before he had to go to Troy, he told her, he said, hey, I have to go to this. This might take a long time. If anything happens, you need to get remarried. And she said, no, let's go off, take our child and get some coconuts and live the dream. Life. And he was
she wanted some Christian Cole from House of Dragon living, and he's like, hell no, he's not gonna come after me. I have to go fight.
He's like, I'm the king, so like he said, he had to go fight. So he took that as crazy, but something he did do the entire time in the film, he held on to her little... She gave him gold pin because she told him, she said, it's too many people who could lie and say they're you, because this is like back in the day before the internet and we had no way to approve. So she said, only way I'll know somebody actually was telling a story of you is they'll mention this gold pin. And he didn't... She told him, wear it, never take it off. He ain't never wore that mug at all. He only held it and kept it on him. But then when he got back, he was like, yeah, Odysseys he wore, he never took it off. That was a lie. But anybody clocked that? But anyways, he did keep it. He didn't lose it. He did. But that's how she knew it was actually him, because he looked homeless. He looked terrible.
Yeah. The only other thing I kind of want to talk about before we give our overall ratings to what we thought the film was, and this kind of happened through the whole film, but was Zendaya's character.
Yes, thank you.
So what we come to find out is with the fall of Troy, and when they stormed, Troy and the walls fell and they, won the war, Odysseys, they killed a lot of people in the city. With one of those people was, I guess she was a princess or queen or someone of high royalty in Troy. She ends up getting beheaded and Odysseus watches. But we don't see that till the very end of the film. But that is played by Zendaya. And throughout the whole film, throughout his whole journey, he's kind of seeing visions of Athena, who's the pendant he's holding on to. But Athena takes the form of the lady that he kills, which kind of is like haunting him, the whole way home. And that's what changes his mind about the whole, war in Troy, and like what Josh Berry was saying about him not wanting to go home because he knows he's the whole reason why people won't accept him is because of the what's it called? The mistakes he's made, but they were his decisions at the end of the day. But
and then with the ladies of the fish, we mentioned that. But when there was the sirens, he basically in Hades they told him, hey, the sirens gonna cause people to jump off board, and he was like, I'll put wax in their ears.
Yeah, so they won't listen.
So he did that. One person did jump off board, but when they finally passed by, the head main dude who was his like person helping him, he was like, what did you hear? Because we didn't hear it. The wax covered our ears. And he said, I heard all the promises I ever made to people, and he did not keep up with, and like that was like horror to him.
Yeah.
So basically, like the whole journey is basically him realizing he was a shit person and doesn't deserve anything that he's ever had, because he was first prideful, then he was a bad person, And then Bubba.
Oh, is it the microphone?
Paw. Don't do that.
Terrible. But anyways, that was also a really big part. Zendaya's, because she was kind of like haunting him, you know, the whole time, and she just did really well. She didn't have to say much. She just kept looking at him. She's like, "Is this enough? Is this where you draw the line?
Yeah.
You can't do this." Really well done. And it was just that scene kind of got to me because we were like, "Ooh, Zendaya's playing this character, but she's not having a lot of lines." But the whole time, that was somebody he killed, and Athena was taking the form of you know, her to give him wisdom, I guess. But that was kind of the last thing I wanted to talk about because she was throughout the whole film. You know, we saw her in the beginning, throughout every stage that he was going through, he would see glimpses of her and would have talked to himself, but talked to her. And
yeah, by talking to her.
It was really cool to see that, and I really liked that, what Christoper Nolan did. But to rate it, I would definitely give it 2 Joshes for sure.
Yeah.
Is it my favorite Christoper Nolan film ever? No. But it's still pretty freaking good. And the fact that it was all in IMAX was really well done. I feel like it was very practical. You know, felt like realism was to a 10, you know, even though we know it wasn't 100% real, but it was still really cool how close he could get, you know, with a mythological story as far back as it goes, you know. But what about you? What would you rate it?
I give it the same. I thought it was very good. I really didn't expect. It was a 3-hour movie, so I was kind of expecting maybe to take a nap or something. But it was completely interesting. They did a great job of how they planned everything out. The characters they chose, everybody was good actors. Nobody threw the story off. You know, Travis Scott was in the movie. He didn't even throw the story off. So it was overall very good movie. Very good. Let me see how much they sold. So
oh yeah, I think the box office, it was at least 800, like 600 million, something like that. I want to say it's something like that. But while he looks that up, I know you guys hear the song in the background. This is another part of the video. The video is sponsored by Josh and Josh. Y'all should go listen to the music at JoshandJosh.bandcamp.com. If you don't want to type that out, you can always go to our Instagram, follow Josh and Josh Music, and in the description and the link is the same link to our Bandcamp page where our full discography is up. Check it out. Let us know your favorite song. Comment Bandcamp if you're watching this right now so that we can know you can go check out the site. But how much did they make? Did it say how much they made?
So it says that Christoper Nolan has grossed 727 million worldwide after 13 days, making it the fourth highest grossing film of 2026. Domestically, US and Canada, it sold 320 million. Internationally, it sold 407 million. And global weekend, 264 million. Yeah,
it's crazy. Its opening week one was 260. That's how I knew it was going to make a lot of money, because 260 million in the first weekend is crazy. That's only 3 days. You know, like, that is wild. But
so basically, it's $1 billion movie if it keeps going at this rate. So that's really good. That's all the movie people care about. They just want their billion.
Yeah, they low-key made their budget back.
Yeah,
you know, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. But if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Sorry if we spoiled it, but if you go to see Odyssey, obviously a lot of people read it in high school. I know I read it in high school. I know he probably read it in high school. If not the whole thing, you definitely know some of the stories that are told with the Odyssey. But really cool film. We'll definitely watch it again when it comes out. Like I said, we both give it 2 Joshes, so that's almost a 10 out of 10 movie for me. I think it's like a 9.5 for me. It's almost perfect, but some of the decisions I gotta knock off a point of a point. Okay.
Yeah, they said that the budget was 250 million. They spent 125 million in marketing. So think about how much that is. That's crazy. I don't even feel like they marketed that well.
They made it back in the first weekend, which is crazy.
Yeah, so it said 375 million between everything, and they said to break even, they need to make between 625 million and 750 million. So like they're barely breaking even. So yeah. So y'all go check out the Odyssey. They need all the money. Exactly. So yeah, appreciate you. Thank y'all for going to JoshandJoshBandcamp.com and our Instagram, Josh and Josh Music. And we got another review, House of Dragon, that's coming up. We covering all the the entire season. So that's all coming up. You'll see that. Check out what we already got. Bam. Go ahead and pick us.
Nope, that's pretty much it. Like we said, go follow our stuff. Go check out the Odyssey. House of Dragons will be coming up too. I'm gonna go be seeing Spider-Man too, so I might drop a video like that, but we haven't fully talked about that. But stay in the works. Be on the lookout. And until next time, guys. Peace.
Peace. Ciao.